Hey y'all, this is Culture Soup, where tech, culture, and business collide. It's a podcast that spoons up everything hot from social media. I'm your host, L. Michelle Smith, and each episode we bring you some of the most notable and not yet notable thought leaders in tech, business, and culture. The year was 1998. I was a senior account executive at Fleischman Hillard. I was working the SBC account, which until very recently at that time had been the Southwestern Bell account. I remember asking my senior partner if she thought it'd be okay the agency sent me to the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in Washington, D.C. It would be my first time. And D.C. is NABJ headquarters. This was so exciting for me because I first joined NABJ as an 18-year-old student at Texas Christian University. If you're familiar with the TCU Lead On campaign, and the mini documentary they did on me, I talked about how the head of the Department of Journalism, Dr. Anantha Babley, used to put about a handful of us in the back seat of his car and take us to the Fort Worth Star-Telegram once a month for the chapter meeting there in Fort Worth for the National Association of Black Journalists. At the time, it was called DFW-ABC, Dallas-Fort Worth Association of Black Communicators. They wanted to be inclusive of PR types. Long story short, my senior partner blessed the trip, funded the trip. Was this convention the best? It was like a family reunion. Everybody I knew from media in Dallas, because as you recall, I started out in television news and did a little bit of newspaper. I did some radio in college. The secret's out. And anybody who was anybody was at this convention. This would be the first time I'd meet A'Lelia Bundles. Remember the great-great-granddaughter of Madam C.J. Walker? At the time, she was ABC News' Carol Simpson's producer. I met so many people in D.C. I met Ed Stewart. At the time, he was at Southwest Airlines. He's the one who would eventually introduce me to Valerie Burton. Well, somewhere along the halls in the Grand Hyatt at D.C., I saw this tall gentleman, and he had glasses. And I never will forget that Cheryl Smith, at the time, who was with KKDA AM and FM, wow, it was on both, and with the Dallas Weekly, introduced me to this fellow. His name, Patrick Riley. Patrick always had a smile and a warm hug for me whenever I met him, and even for the first time. Seriously, when you've known people as long as I've known Patrick, you literally forget when and where you met them. I had to Google when NABJ was in D.C. to remember that this would be the first time that I met Patrick. At the time, Patrick was producing for the Oprah Winfrey Show. And he was just such a sweet spirit and such a smart journalist. I want you to meet Patrick. Since then, he's added a long list of celebrities to his roster of shows that he's produced for, and also he's a publicity guru. Without further ado, and for our Pride episode, I introduce to you Patrick Riley, TV host, TV producer, publicity guru, and my friend and family from NABJ, Patrick Riley. The last time we really crossed paths was because of Miko Branch, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
you were very helpful in getting her on the Culture Soup podcast, which was an amazing episode, guys. If you haven't listened, you need to go back. It's one of the earlier episodes, but that conversation with Nico Branch was phenomenal. So, Patrick, thank you so much for coming on the Culture Soup podcast. I am thrilled to have you here, and I'm trying to think about, when did we meet? Man, okay, NABJ.
I think it's fair to say it was at a National Association of Black Journalists convention, but which one?
I know.
Because I've gone to every one since 91.
Yes.
Okay. How far? Where did we go back?
My first one, gosh, it was in the early 90s, I would say that. But you know what? I joined when I was 18. I joined the local chapter. So this is like y'all, this is over 20 years ago. This is my friend for more than 20 years.
I consider us NABJ family,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Say that. And the times that we spend together annually, we'll be in Miami this year, for example, in August. It's like annual therapy, I say.
Totally.
It really
annual therapy, and it's like a family reunion.
Very much. Very much.
Awesome. Hey, what do you think we have a Culture Soup moment?
I'd love that.
Awesome.
Do I get a Culture Soup moment attached to me and my moment? Like, this is great. I love it.
You do, Patrick, and I'm just so thrilled to be here with you. Okay, so I've been going through the threads, and you know what? We're in July now, but people are still buzzing about Pride.
Absolutely. We had a full month this year. Hello. Whole month of June. The LGBTQIA, LMNOP, I love to joke, turned it out here in the lexicon culture. I would argue on some level it was very much a commercialization of it all. Mm-hmm. But I just loved the idea that pride was on the tongues of so many that we aren't used to hearing it come off of,
Right. So I saw a lot of allies, especially on Twitter, tweeting proudly for their friends and family. And it was wonderful. There were rainbows everywhere. I even saw where Twitter had some hashtags with the built-in rainbow, whatever the logo might have been. Yes.
And you know what some might deem as the perhaps most homophobic genre in music, hip-hop. Hip-hop has now Lil Nas X having come out also in the social media sphere, and it had very much a loving / who cares to it, which is a kind of progress.
Yes, you know what? That's more than baby steps.
Yeah, it's more than baby steps, and we do have a ways to go. I don't think we can ignore what's going on in the administration as it looks to things that are kind of reversing legislative-wise and legally speaking against LGBTQIA rights, all those things we have to keep our eyes on. But we've come a long way, baby.
Yes.
We have.
And, speaking of a long way, one of the reasons why it was such a huge celebration this year is because it's the 50th anniversary of Stonewall, right?
The Stonewall Riots in 1958. It was before I was born.
Right. Me too, just to be clear.
For clarity. But it was that moment in New York history and in the history of the world where our LGBTQIA brothers and sisters, black and white alike, in the village, the Greenwich Village, the iconic Greenwich Village of New York, a place where they gathered to be family when no one else was sort of recognizing them. In fact, when they at that time were acknowledged as people with mental illness. And so it would be a cop raid at Stonewall, the club in the village where our marginalized brothers and sisters were really disrespected beyond compare, a disrespect that the New York City Police Department and the New York City have apologized for here inside the 50th commemoration. But it really set the tone for time's up, we're not going to take it anymore. And a big riot erupted that would really underscore the beginning of LGBTQIA rights and the movement that took place to have us all be here today, able to be married and all the other things and blessings that we have that we did not have. And we stand on the shoulders and shoulder pads, I love to say, of LGBTQIA brothers and sisters from that time. From that time.
Wow. Well, and I hope that we move forward from here. What do you think?
I think there's no choice but for us to continue to move forward. But as we move forward, we have to be clear. There's always resistance. And it's inside that resistance that we must do more, and that we must be more. I've never per se considered myself on the front lines per se, but in living my truth and in living out loud, I have kind of been on the front lines. You mentioned our affiliation with NABJ. I'm a founding member of the LGBTQIA task force for NABJ at where, NABJ would be no different than other homophobic institutions, church, Black colleges even at a time didn't really address the relevance of who it is and what it is to be your authentic truth as an LGBTQIA person. It was the same concern for us journalists. Right. And for those of us willing to be out at that time, we're talking just 2004, 2005, when these kinds of conversations in our lifetime came to be relevant in the journalism world. Right. We were concerned with the same things that our brothers and sisters were concerned about: freelance, insurance, the ability to have a partner and have them benefit from the benefits that are a byproduct of the work that we've done of the world. And so, and the ability to be the storyteller of the LGBTQIA narrative. Right. It is not a narrative separate and apart. It is inclusive of. We have coined intersectionality because as a genius marketer, how important it is for us to see the world reflected inside all that we are, that diversity and that range. And so we've come a long way, and I am so I sometimes allow, when people say that I am on the front lines, I allow it because I know that it looks a whole bunch of different ways. And I'm happy that I lived my truth out loud enough and early enough where I could be a difference, not just for the LGBTQIA community, but for the young boys and girls of color who kind of have a cross to bear in society.
You've been letting your light shine. You have a television show that's happening. You want to talk about that?
Well, let's say, I want you all to follow it. It is a digital talk show called The Happy Hour Talk Show. And that is where you can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all around. But we're kind of like a gay Black view or a gay multicultural view. It's 5 professional gay guys, including Kendrell Bowman, who's a wonderful executive producer of great off-Broadway shows, including an amazing show that is critically acclaimed and co-executive produced by Cheryl Lee Ralph, The Mighty Sylvester, which is based on the disco diva Sylvester.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes.
It's a wonderful show that runs around town. They also have another showcase with Phyllis Hyman. Well, this is the Happy Hour, their first foray into talk. And it is really an opportunity in kind of red table talk sized episodes. We do 15 to 20 minute sized episodes that explore just what we're talking about, society, LGBTQIA concerns, and where they fit into the mainstream. We, in fact, right now have an episode out there. It's our supersized Pride episode where we really get into a lot of what we're talking about, Stonewall 50, and how important Pride was and continues to be for us all. And we talk about fun, our favorite queer movies, our favorite LGBTQIA themed movies. We have a big debate on Chick-fil-A because there are a lot of companies out there that invest in things that are not pro-gay. And we have to ask ourselves, do we continue to buy those delicious sandwiches and waffle fries when we know this? You'll be interested to see what I say, because I'm not obviously a fan of businesses that are anti-gay, but I do have a kind of can we throw the baby out with the bathwater philosophy that I will share.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because Chick-fil-A has been kind of clear on where they stand, but there are other brands out there that show one face and then you find out their public policy is something totally different.
You know, if you really look more closely at who they're investing in and what they're buying, you would maybe, you know, second guess how you purchase, what you buy. I'm not the kind that mutes or boycotts per se, but in these influential taste maker times where playing field is leveled for who and who's listening to us, you're not going to see posting my lunch, you know.
Right.
You know, so I'm clear enough that, you know, those kinds of companies no longer kind of make that, you know, they no longer deserve or earn that part of my attention. But I do speak to kind of, you know, sometimes where there are good business templates out there who are great business templates for society, but for the fact that they're homophobic. And couldn't we look at people in our own lives like that, you know? And so then what do we do? You know, and if they're family members or what have you, then what do we do? So it's a question I ask. Don't think I'm out there eating Chick-fil-A.
Oh, I understand. And look, you know, this is a very influential segment of the population, and it took a while for a lot of the businesses to recognize that this group had a buying power. And so, and you're very vocal about which brands are allies and which are not, and you buy accordingly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you align accordingly, which is why, you know, I have I've just wrapped a wonderful 5-year relationship with Miss Jessie's. We referenced Miko earlier, the CEO of the best darn, you know, curly hair products in the world. And, you know, I worked with her for the 5 years. It was supposed to be 3 years, but we just kept extending because it is such a love affair. But my work was to really help her bestseller do what it began to do, which is continue to book her and have folks attracted in what she has to say. It's a brand I believe in, not to be confused with some of the others that, you know, might get a dime from time to time, but they won't get my love, if you will.
Well, you know what? We love Miko, and we love her dearly departed sister, TT, and everything that they did for women, Black women in particular, and allowing us to see ourselves in the aisle in retail. I mean, I don't think people really understand who were not naturals, who were not Black during that time. And yes, we were ready to pay a premium.
Oh, yes. Yes. And for those who are clear about that product as a superior product for our women of color and women with kinky, wavy, curly hair, and that is a diverse array of women we're talking. They are willing to pay for the product, and fortunately, people like Target stepped up to the plate to give them the shelf space that they deserved, because we know what the value of that looked like at one time in the marketplace.
Yes.
And now we see Miss Jessie's and other brands the like in the spotlight. And so I'm a partner for companies and women and people in the culture like that.
I love it. And you know what? Shout out to Target, because they get it right too. Let's talk about your book.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Well, my book is That's What Friends Are For, on the women who inspired me. I guess it's...
There it is.
Was that inappropriate?
No.
No, there it is. There it is.
This is why we bring authors on.
Part entertainment diary, part memoir. I have always loved the divas. Oprah, Diana. You know, I joke with in the book actually about I did play Little League football. Yes, I did.
And why not?
And the games began to interrupt with something that brought me more joy than the physical fitness of hanging out with my friends. And it was, we were beginning to do Thursday night, 8:00 games. And 8 o'clock on Thursday night in 1982 was all about Give Me a Break with Nell Carter. That was my diva. And so I went to Mama and I said, I have to quit because we didn't have a VCR at the time and Nell Carter came on at 8. And so I quit football because they should have known what was going on with me then, right? Those childhood Jones that I had for the dazzling women in the business across the board from Aretha to Whitney turned into a career. And 25 years of a career in which I have either produced the greatest in the talk world, from Oprah to Wendy Williams, to have interviewed the women of my dreams, my dream girls, from Shirley to Diana Ross. I looked up after 25 years of producing high-level content, interviewing great A-list subjects, and I looked up and I'd been 25 years into a career of having done just that and having done just what my dreams prescribed, even though as a little boy in Savannah, Georgia, who didn't have a name for my fabulosity, after college, Morehouse College, I would find out internally that I could call myself gay and I could live in this world in all its grand splendor and have access to the women of my dreams, who just weren't women I wanted to sleep with. They were just the women of my pop cultural wildest dreams. And so I lived that life. And Dorby Books is a young publisher out of DC who thought I should unpack all of that. So in this, it's a celebration of what these women mean to me, the inspiration of who they are to me, but it's to the world and to society. And we're talking about that level playing field of social media. So I guess a darkness that can kind of exist in the social media sphere where we're hating on people or not acknowledging. We're looking at Whitney without understanding the joy. We stand here now and feel the number one hit from a Japanese import of I'm Your Baby Tonight in 1990 that I always knew about. Just the fan that I was of the Divas, I always plucked from their imports to find those extra songs that no one knew. So here, 30 years later, we are experiencing Whitney Houston's version of Higher Love. And it's number one. iTunes and the whole nine, evidence that voice still resonates in the world today, but we can talk about it removed from what was also a tragedy. So my book plucks from the goodness. And it's not just the A-listers like Whitney and Diana. I loved women like Cheryl Pepsi Riley and Evelyn Champagne King. Her birthday's today, by the way. Happy birthday, Evelyn Champagne King. And I speak to women who maybe no one's going to write a book about, maybe women who aren't going to be honored any day soon. And so this book is an example of that. And so I've been on the road with it for, I'd say, it came out last summer to all my pre-order buyers, but I've been on the road with it available to everybody. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, where all books are sold since January of this year. And I'm just going where the folks want to hear me. And it's great that I've been at great Black colleges, from North Carolina Central University to Virginia Union University. I've had all of our great NABJ folks welcome me into their homes and their respective. I was just in Dallas at T-Ball as one of its authors for their 2019 series. I had a lot of NABJ folks come out to that. I'm going wherever the folks want to kind of celebrate the culture. And the culture is inclusive of Black women. It's inclusive of women in entertainment, pop culture, and humanity. It's inclusive of LGBTQIA kids and again, grown folks who just may not have thought they could do a complete full life. Well, I have done a complete full life, and I've chronicled it in my book. That's what Friends are for, on the women who inspired me.
I'm inspired just by following you on Instagram and on social media and seeing what all you're doing. I mean, there are times when you've gotten this close to Diana Ross, and I'm like, I love it.
I was so excited. On my birthday, we went and did a big celebration of my birthday in November, which happened to align with her residency at the Wynn, the Encore Theater. And I just decided to pop on. Well, I mean, I had front row seats anyway, but I decided to bring my book, signed for Miss Ross because she really, other than my mother, the late, great Queen Elizabeth Bellinger Riley, who I write about in my book, I lost her when I was 23 years old. So I really also got to unpack a bit of that motherless child narrative of having had that great mom and then lost her so quickly, so young. But she really was my first diva. So I just want to shout out Queen Riley. But Miss Ross, other than my mother, is easily the number one diva in my life. So I was able to gift her the book in November. And, you know, it could have looked, you know, she's had great books written about her, and then she's had not so great books. Now, this is a loving tribute to her, in addition to all of the other women, the galaxy of women. But I mean, it could have gone either way when I gave her that book. But you can go on my social media at Patrick.Riley, Riley, all platforms, and you can see me hand her the book, front row and center. And she said, for me. So I'm thrilled that I have been able to not only Miss Ross, but gift other great women, Dionne Warwick, Lynn Whitfield, Tashina Arnold, all my greats, some of whom are truly my friends. Many are friends in my head, but I have been able to gift them with the book, and I'm excited. It's just an exciting time for me, and it's more than a book campaign. I am doing a spring-summer tour, but this book will be a companion, and it will go with me, and it kind of brands me to those who wonder how I've been a freelancer since 1997. Well, I now have unpacked it a little bit in this book to know how I did it. Because, you know, you sort of just keep doing the work. And so this book has also been a reminder for me of just how much I have done.
I'm so proud of you. Is this your first book? It's number one. Well, we'll look forward to number 2, 3, 4, and 5. But let me ask you this. There are a lot of listeners that are trying to get their personal brands in order and figure out how to be that expert. And a lot of people will say you need to write a book. Any advice you have for new authors that are trying to get their feet wet in the whole realm of publishing?
Well, I will say if it's not the world from which you come, you must align with experts who know what they're doing. Even though Dorothy was a new publisher and we crossed hurdles together in terms of just getting a book out, I was their book. We aligned with great people. I had a great editor who comes from the world of publishing, Clarence Haynes. And when I tried to get a book done 10 years ago, he would happen to be an associate editor at one of the publishers that was like this close to signing that particular book years ago. So to have Dorothy align me with someone who was already familiar with my voice and kind of knew who I was to the culture made the process of gathering intel and turning my life of blog entries and emails and social media pictures into a volume. It took an expert like him to get me focused. So I would recommend, whether you do it via a publisher or not, you know, kind of having done the right I did with the publisher, I might try to do it myself the next time. You know, don't we all think we can do it?
And now more than ever.
And now more than ever. But the big messaging is in aligning with experts and people who can help you get your treatment to try to get the book deal and or your manuscript on the right page. I do know the worthiness of having a literary agent, and that could be someone who believes in your project at the raw stage, who can help steer you in the direction of getting it publisher ready. It's, you know, it's a catch-22. Sometimes you have to have the work to get the agent, or sometimes you don't get the agent, and, you know, whatever that can be. But keep that idea in mind, because that could be the right alignment that gets you to your goal. But the bigger messaging for all the frustrations that I can promise you will present themselves when you try to do a book, because there is the declaration to do the book, which is big its own. When you say, I'm going to do it.
Huge step.
That's a big deal. But then there's getting it done. And the getting it done piece is about more than anything. And there'll be so many things that will kind of hold you up. But the goal is to stay the course. Because I can think of 6 moments where I might have just turned away, no harm, no foul, the book's not out anyway, and I'm frustrated at this point for this reason, that reason, or another. But I'm so happy it's a year later that I can kind of look back at any of those frustrations and be happy that the book is here and ready, and people are responding to it in amazing ways. So much so that I have new hurdles to climb with this book alone. I don't have an audience yet, so I got to figure that out, and I will figure that out. I have a lot of husbands who are coming to my book events, loving the presentation. Their wives are buying the books for themselves, their girlfriends, their mothers, and their daughters. The husbands are saying, yo, Pat, when you going to get that audio book? When you're ready?
Right.
They want to hear it. They want to feel it. And they want me to do it. So I'm like, come on, Miss Marketer. I heard something, right? I'm hearing something so I know that will be a hurdle I have to cross. I've never done it before, but I'm going to figure that out.
Let me know if I can connect you with some people who just did it. They may have some advice for you. And also, NABJ member, now that I'm thinking of it.
Your viewers don't know this, but I mean, you've already hipped me to the great takeaways of Skype, et cetera, et cetera. But you made, just so people understand kind of how this works. I'm more than just a guest on the show. That is who we are. You've always been that ilk of help. If I had a question on strategies, best practices, who would I call? I'd call L. Michelle Smith. And it really, I don't say that lightly. I just want to make sure this is illustrated to your listeners and viewers that this is family here. Like
we're right here.
I get you. I see you.
Patrick, this is why I love you. Hey, listen, tell me about your upcoming projects. Anything you can talk about?
Well, as an independent, people think I've been promoting this book and over promoting this book, but I do still have day jobs. I'm an independent producer, personality, and writer, so I'm often booked to either host events or sometimes inside of book promo, I get another check for hosting the event or doing the this or doing the that. So the book has also been a great attraction of revenue stream for me as an independent producer, personality, and writer.
Good.
One project I'm really excited about as a field producer, because I field produce on all levels. Even after Oprah, I continue to field produce segments for the Oprah Winfrey Network. Wendy Williams has been a big client where when she's out of the studio, I'm producing her for remotes like in Las Vegas, Disney World, the British Islands. Whenever she's out of the studio, it's usually me kind of running the show. And so I've had the luxuries of working with great brands, icons in that TV realm for many years, as you know. But I also do special projects that aren't always seen or known. Chubb has been a really great client this year, working on a Protect Your Passion campaign where they are of people who just invest in the arts on any level. It could be antiquing, it could be high line circus artistry, but whether via insurance or through artistic sponsorships, Chubb has been a big sponsor in that way to the artistic world. So they've asked me to come on, much like I would go on a piece for Oprah. I just do this for Chubb, and so they've been a great client. And I have another great client in NAACP Image Award winning sister friend, Sidra Smith, whose whole digital series is getting ready to premiere at Essence Festival. It is a love tale. And I want you to just imagine a hot, sexy, Sex and the City type drama coupled with the L word with the backdrop of Harlem. It's a really sexy show. Vanessa Williams, remember Vanessa Williams from the TV show Food, Leon from the Five Heartbeats, Valerie Pettiford, I think many people know her from Half and Half, Victor Williams, the black guy from King of Queens. They're all in it, along with some wonderful new acts. And this six-part drama is going to run on a digital platform that I can't announce yet, but I can say that it is going to premiere on the main stage at the Essence Festival over the holiday.
Wow.
It's something that when we're ready to talk about it, you're going to want to see it. I produced the electronic press kit for it. So I did all of the behind the scenes, running of the B-roll, interviewing all the cast members on the varied set, and turning all of those into, producing all of those into vignettes, episode recaps, all of that material that you usually see around a show is mine.
Yeah.
And so that stuff.
Good for you.
ready to see very soon. And I'm happy to be able to shout that out here. So that's through IG. You can follow A Love Tale. That's at A Love Tale.
Awesome. Will you be at Essence?
I'm not going to be there. I wish, but Sidra Smith and several of the cast members, Vanessa Williams, Leon, will be there. I am hosting a lot of their non-Essence stuff, but Essence is its kind of own machine.
Oh yeah.
But you will be hearing more from A Love Tale as other screenings and premieres go throughout the summer. So stay tuned, especially here in New York.
Awesome. Wonderful. Listen, where can my listeners follow you on social media?
Just follow me. You can start at Instagram, patrick.riley, and that will connect you to everything. Facebook, Twitter, it's all connected in, everything's connected. So find me there, and also follow at the Happy Hour Talk Show. And we are 3 episodes in. We've got about 5 in the can. We churn them out, once every 3 to 4 weeks. We're inside our supersized Pride edition currently, so please check it out. Let us know that you like it. Keep tuning in. We're getting better as we go, but it's a really beautiful platform to be able to just do what we do, which is just try to bring information and entertainment to folks for kind of the new conversation, and some of these conversations are difficult, but we can do it together. We can all do it together.
Of course.
Respect. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Patrick, I look forward to seeing you in Miami for our family reunion.
Yes.
And you know what? I appreciate you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. This was a total treat.
Oh, good. Awesome. I loved it. And I can't wait to share it with the world.
Great. I look forward to hearing, watching, and you'll get details because I will continue to lead my people to the Culture Podcast. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much. What an awesome conversation with the Patrick Riley. Patrick, we'll see you in Miami at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention and Job Fair in August. That's August 7th through 11th. I'll actually be speaking at NABJ. Yes, we're going to be doing a session on transitions. And yes, we'll cover the obvious journalists who want to get into public relations and marketing. But you know what? I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit more. Those of you who are looking to leverage that brand that you have and how to transition into your influence, writing books, all of that good stuff, social media, all of that. And by the way, if you're in PR and marketing and trying to get into media or media ownership, let's talk about all of it, y'all. Transitions. You know what? I offer the package and coaching. If you're interested and want to do some coaching, if you're a journalist, if you're a PR person, whoever you might be, sometimes you just need out, people, right? Let's talk about it. Find us online at theculturesoup.com, on Instagram and Twitter at The Culture Soup, and on Facebook at The Culture Soup Podcast. See you next week. The Culture Soup Podcast is a production of No Silos Communication.